Hi guys, Grand J here, and welcome to another one of our videos. You guys might have noticed that this is on a brand new channel, so yeah, this is more of a store related video. So I decided to put on a different channel. So this is the Grand J Games channel. This is going to be a channel specifically for the store. And we're going to do some unboxings on openings of new products, and maybe we'll be talking a little bit about market stuff. But I kind of want to keep that stuff separate to my previous YouTube channel, which is like where we talk more about sort of actual gameplay and cards and that sort of analysis as well. So I want to sort of like make this separate from that. So I made a new channel for this. So that's why it's like, oh yeah, where did this new YouTube channel come up from? And it's like only one new video, right? So yeah, so that's that. In regards to today's video. The Digimon card game recently released, and I have been selling singles for it on my store at grandjgames.com. Yeah, and so people have been asking me, like where did you get your prices, or where did you get your numbers for the card game? Because right now the sort of gold standard for card pricing is tcgplayer.com from the US, and right now the Digimon card game isn't on that yet, so people have no idea how much cards are worth, or like what the market rate or market prices are. So today's video, I'm going to be really sort of hitting on three topics. So like one, how did I determine my prices day one? So on release. Two, I'll be talking a little bit about some of the recent price adjustments I've made. And three, we are going to have a little bit of a look at sort of market data and see, how our sort of predictions or analysis sort of compares to actual market values. So let us get started. I'm going to change scene. Here we go. So this is in regards to the first point of how we price cards day one. So I saw online that there was a particular Twitter, which is, yeah, this is a little bit embarrassing. I haven't activated Microsoft Excel. I'm a pirate, eh? There's a Twitter called DTCG Review, and it was a Twitter that was sort of following the Digimon trading card game over in Japan, and one of the things that they do is they have an Excel spreadsheet which shows historical pricing data. So, they've got all the stuff from BT3, BT2, BT1, and their recent pricing, and these are all in Japanese yen. So yeah, that's why these numbers look a little bit high as well. So my basic first analysis was, so this is like recent based upon recent dates, but then they have like archived price history. So, so this looks at like, all these sort of rare, super rare promo cards, over a longer historical period. And so basically a large majority of my initial pricing was going to be based more or less around that, right? Now there's a lot of data for this, and when you have a lot of data, there's really sort of two ways you can sort of handle it. One, you just get like, you use programs and use high computing power to just sort of analyze the data, analyze older variables, and then it will try to spit out a prediction for what your current prices should be in context of the current variables, right? But if you don't have that, what you have to do is you just have to create some base assumptions to do your calculations to try to simplify all this data, right? And so my base calculation, or my base simplification of this was that, look, in day one of pre-release, because don't forget, like, Digimon card game hasn't even released yet. The assumption was is that prices should realistically never be any higher than day one pre-release, right? Because prices will just like gradually drop as more cards saturate the market, and all the sort of as more and more of the high-level buyers they start saturating out their demand. So in theory, day one prices should be the highest that they could possibly be, right? So what I then just did, I just like ran an Excel, I just ran an Excel formula, which is like this column here. All it does is that it looks at this entire row. So like for this one here, it just looks at this entire row, and looks for the highest price. So what I did, just take all these cards, take all these historical values, and just say, what's the highest number? What's the highest number? What's the highest number? Throughout its entire life, right? Because if day one is where our prices would be the highest they could possibly be, and then we take the Japanese prices at the highest that they could possibly be, and that's a starting off point. Not to say that's where our ending point is, but that's just, starting off the calculations. So that's more or less what I did. I just realized the camera might have blocked some of the top formulas. But yeah, so that's more or less how I got started. Yeah, and that was sort of my base assumption. So then what I just did, cool, to just make it simple for myself, I pulled like this column here on the right, and then some of these columns on the left, and then I just like got rid of the older stuff in the middle, and I just put it into a new sheet here, right? And then this allowed me to just sort it a little bit easier. So I sorted it by a whole lot of stuff. Yeah, so I sorted by a whole lot of stuff. So like if you know Excel, there's a whole lot of ways that you can sort of filter your data to make it a little bit easier to read. So yeah, so basically this is the general data. So here's the highest price the card was in its Japanese Japanese yen. And then I have two conversions here, right? So these are in Australian dollars. So I am an Australian-based store, so most of my numbers are going to be in AUD. I will be talking a little bit about USD a little bit later today. So yeah, so I have two prices here, and these are based upon two adjustments. So one is the true exchange rate, or like what the exchange rate is when like it's quoted internationally. That's 76.74, and then I have a secondary exchange rate. This is the PayPal rate, or like the merchant fee rate. So like yeah, the true exchange rate, so it's just like two different quotes, right? So the true exchange rate is like the exchange rate that's shown on the market and stuff, but you never get that exchange rate. Like the only people that get the exchange rates are basically governments and merchant banks, that they get close. For the average person, like this adjusted exchange rate is more or less what you're sort of getting, right? So yeah, to be honest, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter that much. It basically it accounts for like a 3% merchant fee in between when doing the adjustment, right? But yeah, but it gives you like it gave me sort of two numbers to look at, and then like at the end of the day, there's barely any difference. Like, oh yeah, look, you lose like a 60 cent here, or you lose like $2 here, or you lose like $1 there. So at the end of the day, it's not a big difference, right? So what I then did, I then took all this data, and then I applied it to, my own set of data, right? So yeah, so I've got my cards here on the left. Just pull this open a little bit more. So yeah, so here are the list of cards I have on the left, and they're all sorted in order. Product code, so yeah, that's just like an internal thing. Here is some market data that I found. So I looked on eBay, looked at a couple other sites, and these are generally sort of the numbers that I was looking at, right, when I was looking online. And then here, this is what I copied in, the Japanese price. Yeah, so this was the Japanese, these are the Japanese prices that I copied in from this formula, right? Sort code, this is just like, for sorting. Current stock levels, so this is how much I opened up within my boxes, right? Yeah. So what I then did is so then I first look at the yield. So E2 times G2. So yeah, so like my current stock times E2. So if I were to price purely on the Japanese prices, how much would I get for all my total, like for all the product that I open, right? So the main reason for looking at this is that we can just like select all of this, and then we can look at the total. So, I guess I'm also teaching you guys a little bit about Excel as well. So if you select all this data, so this is how much I would get if I sold all the cards within that, for that given price. And then the total of that sum is 67, is down here at the bottom here. So the total is $6,714, right? And so like looking at my costs, that was about what? So that would have led to a profit of about 2.5 times. And I thought to myself, all right, okay, like I don't feel comfortable with that. Yeah, I don't feel comfortable with that. It's definitely like way too high in my opinion, right? And so like one of the like main different philosophies that I have when running stores is that it's all about the long term and looking after your customers, right? You could possibly sell cards at these sort of prices, but if you do, you burn people and then they never buy from you ever again. And so, yeah, so it's really important for me to look after customers and give them a really good customer experience. And like, even though people who might not know me or like might not connect with our store might think I'm a little bit scummy or whatever, but I really do try my best to sort of like keep everyone happy. And anyone who's had like a message or had interactions with me, they'll say, yeah, it's like, it's like really good service. I'm always going out my way and I try to help people as much as I can. So not to toot my horn too much, but in summary, that's way too high of a number, right? And so yeah, even though you could sell it at market price, yeah, that number is way too high. So what I then did, I took an average of a couple of points of market data and the Japanese price, and then averaged it out between the two numbers. So here's this is the number of like the average of those two numbers, right? And then what I did, I just applied the same like formula. I applied the same formula, which is like take the average value instead, multiply by how much current stock I have. It's like, cool. So this time you take the total, and it goes to 5,835. So that's still high in my opinion. So I still did not feel comfortable about that. Right, because at the end of the day, it's about branding and how do you brand your store. So ultimately, the goal is that we want to brand the store that has good selection, and we have a like fair and reasonable price, and we also try to be very competitive with our price as well. Not necessarily like the lowest price, but we try to offer like a price that people can be like happy to pay. So that's our ultimate goal. Yeah. Because like you can offer like a more competitive lower price, but then your selection is really low, because you can only get a certain amount of cards at sort of that cutting edge price. But we try to like offer a wide selection, and in order to do that, you have to have a little bit more of a margin in order to like get more products in stock in. So I then made adjustments based upon my numbers. So like the two columns to really sort of look at in this particular case is this column, and this column is my adjusted column. So this is basically more or less where I made adjustments based upon my numbers and the average numbers, and I just like churned them down a little bit. So I've been selling like TCG singles for like a couple of different card games for now nearly 4 years. It's probably around 4 years now. Man, 2020 has blown by really quickly. So I have a pretty good judgment of like how much people feel cards should cost, and generally sort of like the different pricing bands that people are happy to pay for given cards for specific cards, right? And for Australians, that sort of super rare mark seems to deviate somewhere along the lines to like $8 to $18. That seems to be sort of like where they sort of like to deviate. So like that's kind of where I sort of made my judgments. If there was anything that's particularly high, I would like bump it down a little bit. If they're saying that was a little bit like lower, I would like bump it up a little bit. I don't think I really bumped too much stuff up, but like most of it was bumping down. So this column is like what I made sort of my manual adjustments off of. So for example, like this Magna Angemon, he was like according to like market data and according to Japanese prices, it was like $25, right? And I also use a little bit of like sort of my TCG knowledge to like I guesstimate like parallels of cards as well, because I also have to kind of predict demand. And I didn't think like card like Magna Angemon would be like that popular, so I juiced them down by quite a bit, as compared to like say Zudomon, which I actually thought would have been pretty legit. So I adjusted down only slightly. The one big thing that I really adjusted down was like the Metal Greymons. So the secret rares, I actually reduced them all by a lot, because I was looking at the yield numbers. How many that we opened, I was like, look, if you're getting a secret rare in almost every single box, like 80% of your boxes, you're opening a secret rare, that means they're not that rare. They're not that rare. They're not that rare. So it's like, the market had them at a really high number, so I like bumped them down by quite a bit. So I bumped them down by quite a bit. But yeah, like apparently the market still wants them at such a high level. So I bumped them down a little bit. Then the old arts, I just I made adjustments on them. One thing that I did notice that was a little bit of an issue is that there's quite a number of like 6490. So I think there's like 16490 here, 16490 here, and then a 6490 here. That's because a lot of the Japanese prices, so the 6490. So 6490, because like I forget what the Japanese number was, but basically it would have been the equivalent of like, I don't know, like $70 or something, and then like a whole bunch of stores were like costing it, like were pricing it like $70, and then when you adjust it over, that's why it all ends up like these exact things being the same number, right? So that's just kind of like coincidence by the situation. Also, I needed to get these prices together and out on time, because I wanted to sort of like make sure we could sell on day one. If I had like another 2 days to sit down and analyze the numbers a little bit more, I probably could have done a little bit more for it. So that was how I originally created my prices. Now, as for the actual like main thing for this video, now that it's been a week, a little bit more than a week, we can look at some of the like pricing adjustments I've made recently. Okay, so I did not intend to become like one of the pricing points or one of the pricing factors or one of the pricing guides for people to price their cards upon. That was not my intention at all. I guess just people seem to adopt it, right? But considering that I'm in this sort of predicament, I am going to be more transparent and sort of like give more insight on to things because, like I don't know, I like to try to keep people happy, or like I like to sort of try to show my knowledge or insight on things, especially if people are listening, right? So I did make some pricing adjustments based upon the sales that we made in the first week, based upon the sales that we made and sort of like what sort of customers that we had like make these purchases. So there are a lot of interesting things that you can determine about the market by how things are purchased, who's purchasing them, and what they're purchasing with, right? And you can look at that data, and even though we've really got a small sample size, so it's not really reflective of maybe like a whole market, but it does give us some indication in regards to like what things are people buying, right? So for example, if someone's buying like a whole bunch of like purple cards together, so it's like, oh, you're buying Digimons, Devimons, blah 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 blah, you can tell that person is just picking up cards for their deck. So that sort of buyer is a sort of player sort of buyer, right? And usually those sort of players will like buy the low rare variants or buy non-foils, low rare variants, and you can sort of tell. But like that data is more useful in terms of like determining what the meta is. If people are all buying this one particular uncommon, all right, it means that this particular uncommon is like really highly played, right? You've also got other purchases of people who are like they purchase very specific high rarity cards. And they buy max copies. So if anyone buys like 7 or 8 copies of something, that's usually a red flag to say that, all right, this card is probably underpriced. Because no one in reality needs like 6 or 7 copies of like Gallimon, right? But if they like buy out like 8 or 9 copies, then it means that like, all right, cool, we underpriced it, and they're coming in to arbitrage the market. So basically, it's like, all right, if you got a card that's like 20, when you've like selling a card at $20 and the market has it at like, I don't know, $45 or something, right? Someone can come in, like easily swoop and buy up all your copies, and then, sell it for like 35, which is still below market rate, but they make like $15 in between on each card. So those are just some examples, right? So using that data, using the sales, how quickly things move as well. So like if you put up certain cards and they're gone within like half a day, 1 day, you can also tell that that's also like a high demand card as well. So using all this data, we can sort of like get a bit of a general idea of like sort of what cards are up, what cards are down, and sort of we make adjustments on that, right? Also, one more thing before we go into this is that also because we are in pre-release, supply is limited. So basically, like in a sort of normal release, if you open up your free cases of product, which is like 36 booster packs or whatever, 36 like booster boxes or booster packs, like if you open that up and you sell through it all, then you can always open more product. You just go back to a store or you go back into your retail stock and you just say, all right, cool. We still got like another 20 boxes left that we haven't sold yet, so we'll open like another 8 or 12 or something, right? And then you open those up, you can crack those singles, then you can put them back on the store. So you basically have more reserved supply to sell singles through, right? But right now, because we are in like a pre-release, I think, as most of you people have seen, it's really difficult to get booster packs / booster boxes, and it's extremely difficult to get starter decks at the moment. So I do feel bad for all the people who are trying to get like the red starter deck and just like they can't seem to get it, even though they're going to be paying like 2.5 times like recommended retail price, and they still can't get it. That's really sad to hear. And yeah, I have my personal opinions in regards to this whole pre-release sale thing. And I'm not a big fan of it personally, but that is like for like a separate topic for another video. So that being said, going back to my previous point is that so I got my cases for this first batch of opening, for my original batch of openings at retail. So like because I'm not a pre-release store, because we're not a brick and mortar like local play store, we did not get pre-release product. So we had to buy everything from retail. So we got in contact with a couple of stores and we pre-ordered products from them. We pre-ordered products from them and we opened them up. So we did get admittedly bit of a discount for like pre-ordering. compared to like a normal retail price, but it still wasn't like it was nowhere near like sort of like distributor or wholesale level price. But yeah. But in regards to this second wave of product that we opened, because we like sold through all our product in the first like 4 days, we were able to open up two more cases. But these two cases we had to buy from the secondary market. So because the older stores all sold out. If you went to any stores in like Melbourne, you could not, like, maybe there were like one or two boxes, but they were like holding them for events and stuff, so you could not get any more booster boxes, right? So we actually had to look on to see if anyone was like sitting on boxes or cases that they would like resell to us, and we managed to find someone who would be selling some cases, and then we had to negotiate pretty hard to try to get it to a reasonable price, because there were some people that were like hoarding it. So basically, in summary, we actually had to pay 30% more than MSRP for these cases. So that means like our costs increased. And it seems that it would appear that also like the market in general has also increased by about that 35% mark as well. Because like, so I don't know the exact price in USD, but like I think people were like stores, like physical stores were like selling booster boxes or something for like what, 95, 100 and something like USD, which is like probably more than the like 30% on top of like regular market rates, right? But so in summary, stores that are selling singles, in order for them to like restock, they have to purchase either boxes or singles from the secondary market. And because the market is like really sort of hot right now, it's really expensive to buy, simply because the people who are holding onto these boxes, they know that they can sit on them and they can get this value. So we had the same issue as well, and so it was like 30% increase in costs. We did absorb a large part of that. So I know like some retailers, if their costs increase by 30%, they bump up their prices by at least 30%, right? So we actually, because like looking at the numbers before, we were looking at things, and looking at our week one prices, and we were looking at those costs, there was margin for us to absorb those increased costs. There was margin for us to absorb increased costs. So we actually absorbed a lot of these costs. And then, we did make some market adjustments based upon like card pricing and stuff as well. So some people might ask us, it's like, Jason, it's like, you didn't need to purchase more product in order to sell more cards, right? So the thing is that, if we don't have product to sell, even if it is at a higher price, like, people don't exactly have to buy. So if our costs increase and we like put more product on the shelf, and people are willing to buy that, that's great. If they're not, then that's fine. We just like we lower prices or whatever, right? But the thing is that, like, if the alternative was to have nothing on the site or have stuff on the site at like at a slightly higher price, and we're not like pricing to gouge or anything, as you'll see in a moment. So those are the alternative is like no one can buy anything at all because we don't have anything, or we give people the option to buy some stuff at a higher price because like the cost increase, right? So that's the intro to, now we look at the actual numbers, right? So here's the data, and I did color code it to make it a little bit easier for me to remember what was happening, and like so I can sort of talk to you guys through it. So I color coded a whole bunch of stuff. Green, like the darker green means cards that increase in price by more, and red shows cards that decrease in price. Yellow means that they sort of stayed about the same. All right. So I will go through some of the cards, right? So the baby Pokemon. The baby Pokemon, I did not expect these to be as hot as they originally were, but I guess like in hindsight, it's kind of like no shit that they were going to be hot, right? Because like every deck needs like five baby Digimon, and there's only two of each like baby or in training Digimon at the moment, for each color, unless you have the star deck, right? So purple, you've only got two, black, you've got two, green, you've only got two, right? So we knew going into it from what I saw on Twitter and stuff that Upamon would be the one that was like most popular because it was like really strong. Already sold out like really, really quickly. These are all price adjusted. So don't forget, because costs went up by 30%, all these price increases and decreases are all should all be in context of that, right? So when you think about it, a card that's increased in 40% in price, when the cost is increased by 30%, has only really comparatively increased by 10%. That's a really simplified explanation, but So 40% increases to Yoko, 45% to Kewpie, Tanamon 0.4, Upamon up by 75%, because yeah, this one sold out very quickly, and was like highly demanded. Oh yeah, another thing that we can sort of analyze is like store search results and like a couple other like factors in there. So there's some like e-commerce store data stuff that we can also use to sort of analyze sort of what people are looking for, and yeah, what sort of stuff that people were like looking for and searching for, demanding. So yeah, so that Agumon and Tyrannomon, these are both like really low. So like Tyrannomon was pretty low. Agumon barely sold. I think it's because like yeah, in terms of playability, the rookies that people were looking for were like the Beamon, Starter Deck Agumon, or the vanilla one. So the rare Agumon not so much. Skull Greymon, he was okay. He is played in red. So he moved a couple, but not as fast as other ones. Gabumon, this guy went out really quickly. Yeah, he's like the best like blue rookie in the game. So he's really good. A whole bunch of other stuff didn't really move. So like Ikakumon's, Cerberusmon's, nothing. Yellow, no one, like barely anyone wants to touch yellow. When I say like barely anyone, it's like it really just means that it's not very popular. Cerberusmon, like I have not sold a single Cerberusmon, right? So yeah, so I chopped that by 40%. Patamon, like, and Angemon, they'll both be low, so he chopped by 25%, chopped by 15%. Yeah, Mistymon, he was actually alright. So like most of the people who were buying yellow stuff were buying Mistymon. Togemon, moved a couple. Lilymon, she was quite popular. People who were buying green were always buying Lilymons. So yeah, she was a 30% increase. I like the most, like there were two particular there were like a handful of tamers that were like moving really quickly. So Tai Kamiya, like the red one, he was selling, so like 45% increase. This blue mat, so it seems like everyone was like jumping on the blue hype train on week one. So like blue Omnimon or blue Metal Garurumon, like people were really on that. So yeah, mats just like went really quickly. So that was 75% increase. But then again, I had it like priced really low. I had it priced at like $3 to begin with. So like yeah, even though it's like a high percentage jump, like at 555 AUD, it's still like pretty market price. So like I look at both like the price that it ends up and the price it started off. I guess probably I probably should have talked about this. This is the price that it's at now. This is the percentage adjustment, and this was the old price that we had, right? I really should have like sort of done that, and also maybe I should have zoomed up on this a little bit better. Okay, cool. We'll zoom up on this. Hopefully, we can see it a little bit better. Yeah, cool. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Like, yeah. Oh man, do I want to go back and like edit and recut this? It seems like so much work. I'm so busy. No, we just power on ahead. Yeah. So the other tamers, some of them moved, but it seemed like very market equilibrium. Mad Dog Fire, barely anyone bought this. Yeah, like it's not a great card. I chopped it by 20%, go from 2.5 to $2. Yeah, Polyphony, that was okay. Flower Cannon, this was quite popular. This was quite popular. Yeah, this was quite popular. But then again, green was one of the lesser popular colors. Yeah, one of the less. Actually, green was kind of in the middle, right? So it's like in terms of popularity, it was like blue, red, purple, yellow. No, green, yellow, black. So like green was kind of like fourth place. So yeah, so flower counts were moving, but then again, green wasn't like the most popular color. Giga Blaster, this was like very low, 30% cut. Yeah, Tumemon and Yamon. Tumemon and Yamon, these were both like bought out quite a lot. Yeah, so like minor adjustments, 15%, 20%. So like back to the previous point, cost increased by 30%, and these prices only increased by like 15, 20%. It's actually like when you're looking at it, 30% increase, it means that we absorbed if we increase price by 15%, it means that we absorb 15% of our cost as well. So basically, we're chopping that increased cost between the buyer and us. So we're taking a reduced cut as well. Yeah. So that's just one thing to note, just in context of the cost increase. War Groundmon, he was quite popular. So yeah, so he moved up by 25%. Metal Seadramon, he was a little bit low, but then again, it's because all these Digimon that were also in the dash packs of promos, their regular like rarity versions were also like not buying that much because you had like two sources for them, and people would either just like jump to the alternate art versions, or they actually had the alternate art version, so it didn't need so many additional like regular copies to sort of supplement their play set, or how many they were like looking to play. Metal Tyrannomon, he was very popular. Metal Tyrannomon was quite popular, so he's up by 45% from 285 to like $4. Papamon, he moved some, but it was still not particularly high, so like down by 10%. Kiramon, he was quite popular. Yeah, a lot of people were trying to like play Diaboromon, but this Kiramon, he was quite high, so 40% increase him. But in Inframon, only 20% increase. Chimeramon, this was quite popular actually, very very popular. We sold out on him, and yeah, he's like really really highly sought after for purple decks. That were really quite popular. So yeah, we had him at like $5. So we bumped it up by 30%. Because like $5 was already quite a high base price. Yeah, it was already quite a high base price, so we like bumped it up by only 30% to match our costs. Venomyotismon, like yeah, sort of like market. It seemed like more market even. Sora and Joe, these guys were both like the least popular tamers, so we chopped them by 10% each. Kari, she was okay, 15% increase. Tiger, quite popular. People were really into like sort of like playing the Tyrannomon stuff, so up by 25%. Black Tie and Purple Matte. I guess because the fact that these were the only tamers within those colors means that like anyone playing those colors had to pretty much play these guys. So yeah, so Tai, he moved very quickly, but not as fast as Matt. Matt just like as soon as we get them in, it's like as soon as we got them in, they were like all bought out, like all of them. Not by one person, but like people were just like sequentially buying them out. So yeah, so like Matt was very high. So he had a 150% increase from 285 to 715, which I think was probably more accurate reflection of their pricing. And then yeah, a couple other things, very minor adjustments. Trump Sword went up by 60% from $3 to $550. That seems about right. Everything else seems more or less about right. So that was the rares. In terms of super rares, I guess we'll run through these in a different order, right? Okay, so I'll run through it. Can you see all the stuff? Cool. We'll run through it in terms of like cards that were up and went down, right? So Garudamon, unpopular. I think she's like one of the least popular like super rares of this set, so she went down 20%. Machine Dramon, again, he's got the same issue that Piedmon like. He had the same issue as Papamon and Seadramon, and that like he was already as an alternate art card in the dash pack, so he wasn't super popular as well. He is playable in the black decks, and like black decks were playing him, but because people had like other ways of getting him, he was also down as well. 10%. Kentaurosmon, yeah, like yellow was not a popular color to begin with, and Kentaurosmon like did not seem to like sort of fit into the whole yellow archetype. So yeah, he was down by 10%. And I think Leopardmon should be down. Leopardmon. Yeah, Leopardmon actually moved, but like yeah, Leopardmon actually moved by 10%. But yeah, it was very minor. So like Leopardmon was moving, but not too many. So those sort of things that sort of amongst the regular super rares, those got chopped down by a lot, right? So like 20% increase doesn't seem like a lot, but yeah, like I said, in context of like cost increases, this was really like a 50% like cost decrease, pricing decrease when you consider like the increased costs, right? So yeah, so War Greymon, we felt that this might have been a little bit overtuned, so he moved a little bit slower than we would have really thought. We like when we were setting our original prices, we thought that the iconic main characters of like War Greymon, Metal Garurumon would be like much more demanded. We thought that they would be much more demanded. They would like achieve a higher premium price. But it seems like we overtuned the SR War Greymon a little bit more. I think because like people were either playing the starter deck one or the Gallant Mon. So this super rare War Greymon, not that not as popular as we thought. So we chopped it down by 10%. Zudomon, he was moving. So only like a 10% increase. Metal Garurumon, he was gone very quickly, so 40% increase to him. From 15 to 22. So yeah, this was moving. Magna Andromon. Alright, and so okay. Another thing that I sort of really want to emphasize, like we could have we could have gotten by if we didn't increase our prices. But okay, but I like this is a really difficult thing when you're in a public spotlight. Is that people will always complain about you, right? So it's like people would say, "All right, it's like his prices are bullshit." Like I had one guy even said that like my prices were a scam, even though we legitimately were selling cards at these prices, right? It's like, oh yeah, you know, he put like Lilithmon at $35 so he can artificially deflate the price so he can buy cards up. No, it's not at all, man. We actually sold them at 35 a piece, alternate art Lilithmons. So yeah, so this is all based upon our original judgments, right? So like, yeah, so I'm trying to better reflect the market because that way, people won't call us scams or won't think that our market prices are not reflective of the market, right? So we do walk this very fine line of trying to stay below what the hype market prices are. So that's the roof. So we try to avoid that, and then there's the base cost, right? So we try to lean more towards like the 1/3 mark. So it's like, if this is like as high as it should be and this is like as low as it should be, we kind of want to aim around here, right? And so like initially our prices were probably like down here. And so they were maybe not like an accurate reflection of the market price. And yeah, considering how people are using us to be a signpost for like how market price should be, that's why we're adjusting these prices to better reflect the market. Otherwise, like there is a benefit to being a source for people's pricing. So having our prices to reflect what we think is a closer reflection of the market price can like allows people to continue to have trust in our brand and trust in our pricing adjustments. So we wanted to make sure that we had a good reflection, not because we want to necessarily make more money, but just so people can continue to trust in our pricing adjustments, because that's one thing that we do pride ourselves on, that we have like a very good system to adjust prices according to the market, and especially for all our other card games, it's like very close to market price with our system. So that's why that was pretty much the main reason that why we were adjusting market prices, not because we were trying to get greedy, but just like to be a better reflection, so that when people check out our sites, they will just think, all right, cool, like this seems like an accurate reflection of the market, as opposed to, all right, look, his prices are too low. I'd rather look at this site, rather look at this site, rather look at this site for pricing. And then all of a sudden, like less eyeballs are on us. So it was more important for us to get good, accurate market prices, and people can just look at our prices, say that feels right and that looks right, and then just like that's that, right? So this is the main reason pricing adjustment accuracy to market is really important to us right now, is because we have kind of a secondary function as a market guidepost right now. So yeah, so that's also that. Yep, so Magda Andromon, he actually, towards the later part of last week, he started bumping up, so, 15% increase on him. Seraphimon, he was okay. Hercules Kabutomo, very, very popular, but then again, we had him, really low, because apparently he wasn't, that popular in Japan, so, we bumped it up by 80% to $13. So even though it's a big, 80% increase in price, at $13, he's still, he's not prohibitively expensive, so it's $13 is still, reasonably quite cheap in Australia in AUD. So don't also forget this in AUD, right? So when you compare it to USD, it's like 11 bucks. No, 950, somewhere between 950 and 1050. Yeah. Rosemon, she was not a fast mover, so 10% increase, moved to 8.9. Omnimon, all right, Omnimon, geez, he moved really quickly. So I actually put up two loads of him. So I put a setup, and then later on I purchased some more off someone else, and I put them up again. Both times they were gone within half a day. So I figured in this situation it was fair to have his price match the increased cost. So 30% increase to him. So he's at 112.6. I'm going to sit him there and I don't feel like I want to bump the prices up any higher, even though they have been moving. So even though so they've been moving very quickly still, but at this stage I'm it's at a price where I'm not comfortable to bump it up any higher. Yeah. And also one other thing, right? This is just kind of an extension to my point before, is that if we were trying to adjust these prices to better accurately reflect the market, we also put our money where our mouth is, right? So because oh my god, like I go paranoid just thinking about all the different like marketing components to this, right? If if people were going to look at our prices as market prices or signposts for like how much cards should be valued at, right? Or like if we just wrote a guide, like let's say if we didn't want to charge these prices for our cards because we thought they were too high, and we just said, all right, cool. Here's our pricing guide for the market, right? Here's our pricing guide for the market. Here's what we think cards would be, but we're selling cards at a different price, right? People would say, all right, then his market predictions or his market review is not reflective of his own prices. Why should we listen to his market his market summary, right? So it was there. So it's therefore really important for our store to use the same market prices that we say that we think that they are worth. Otherwise, that way, we're putting our money where our mouth is. If we're willing to buy and sell at these prices, then that these are the prices that we believe in, right? So that's why we are also we also price our cards accordingly to this, right? So basically, half the time when it comes to marketing, you are just hedging yourself up so you avoid any sort of controversy and like just a whole lot of people like sort of attacking you with different sort of arguments, which is annoying. And I guess almost this video is also part of that as well, just so we can explain ourselves and get our like sort of perspective out there. So Gallantmon, he like really started jacking up in demand. Really jacked up. So this at $18, he was gone really quickly. And also I believe True Champion Steve, like one of the big YouTubers who were like YouTubing for Digimon, he was hyping up Gallantmon. So yeah, there was a lot of hype we saw in the market. So we bumped this up by 45%. Rust Tyrannomon, he was like really popular, even at like $10. He was really popular. A whole bunch of green decks were playing him. So we bumped him up by 55%. Even though it's a bigger jump than Gallantmon, his base price of $10 means that it only moved up to 16, which is kind of more in line with where we think it sort of would bump to. Gallantmon being around the 27 mark is usually a reserve for those sort of super rares where they're quite strong. They're played in a lot of the same. They're played often in their archetype, but they're not like sort of must-haves, like big must-have sort of cards, like Omnimon sort of kind of is. Even though people will argue that Omnimon is not like a need to play, I would agree that you can get around not having him, but like it's not that tier of like every tier 1 like competitive player wants to have like a playset available to him. It's not that level. So Gallantmon's not at that level. So War Greymon, the black one started trending up a little bit in the later part of last week. So I put a very tentative 0.1 like 10% increase from 17 to basically $19. Machine Dramon, like I said, because of the alternate art, chopped them down by 10%. Piedmon, we had kind of slipped on Piedmon a little bit, so we had him at 15 like basically $16. But then older purple players jumped on the Piedmon bandwagon. We kind of underrated him because we thought, all right, it's because you have to hard cast him, so you have to pay 11, is it 12? I think you have to pay 12 memory in order to put him into play, and it's you're only getting 2 4s and shit. And you couldn't get his effect if you evolved him, which I thought that that was going to be a just keep evolving guys. But yeah, he was super duper popular. And the market was hyping him up. So quite high. Metal Garurumon, he was purple was more popular than we thought it would be. We thought it was just all going to be blue red. But yeah, purple was really popular. As you've probably seen from recent tournament results. Diaboromon, 10% increase. Millenniumon, this guy was really big. I personally thought I might have underpriced him or I underrated him. But yeah, the fact that you can you evolve him off of Piedmon or Beelzemon for additional value. So and people were buying him at $25, $30. So we bumped him up by 40%. Took us about $34. So that seems about right. Leopardmon, he was moving, but he's not particularly not a particularly popular card. Kintarasmon down. Lilithmon. This is the one that we really undervalued, right? So when you look at the purple megas in the game, when you look at purple megas at the game, Piedmon was up there, Metal Garurumon was up there, Beelzemon was up there. Yeah, and Lilithmon, because like Lilithmon requires more option cards, and the card pool is so small. This is one of those cards where the card is not that strong in the card meta game because the card pool is small, and it's only going to get better when the card pool increases, right? So in theory, Lilithmon's playability is actually quite low amongst the purple megas right now, right? So that's why we had her at like 975, and like in the Japanese numbers, her numbers were low as well. So yeah, so we only put about like 975, right? Oh my god! Both like super rare Lilithmon and alternate art Lilithmon, all gone straight away. All gone straight away, and we saw like throughout the next coming days that people were selling them at like stupidly high prices, and it's like everyone was like talking about Lilithmon. Oh yeah, anyone want to buy Lilithmon? Like you guys would have seen on the Facebook groups, if anyone was like look, I like my old art Lilithmons, they sold at 35. Okay, I sold 2 of them, right? At 35 AUD, right? And so like I don't regret it, you know, because like, you know, like you make the sale and you like, I was happy to sell at those prices, so I was happy to sell at the first. So no regrets, right? So what I'm saying is that anyone else who also followed and sold them for 35, I'm sorry if that happened, because these numbers in actuality were quite a lot higher on the international market, like quite a lot higher. Yeah, so like she was more in line with that like $25-$30 mark range. So we just adjusted it to that sort of price, which goes back like, okay, so like another thing I want to talk about, right, is so the reason why she's priced so highly is not because of like her playability, alright? She's not at the playability of Piedmon's, like, they're basically the same price, the 24 and 25. She's not the same level of playability as Piedmon, right? And I think we all know why she is so sought after, right? And okay, and here's what happened, right? So I am very aware that in card games there is something that I like to call the titty tax, right? Or some people like to call it the waifu tax. Basically, cards that involve well endowed females always have a price premium of like 20 or 30% above what they would usually be at, right? Sometimes it's like way more, right? So if you're a Pokemon player, we're talking about like Cynthia's and Skylar's. If you're talking about whatever card games or whatever examples are there, but basically like, or yeah, if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh player, you know the Dark Magician Girls, man. Like, you know, people, yeah, you know, people back in the day were paying like $60-$70 for like a secret rare Dark Magician Girl. I was like, whoa. Yeah, but yeah, so I did not think the titty tax applied to Lilithmon because she's a Digimon, right? Like, I can understand. Okay, and also, I want to make it very clear. I'm not judging you. I'm not judging you at all, right? I'm just, I'm not judging you at all. So if you're into that shit, then that's fine, right? But all I'm saying is that there's a scale of, on one end, we have real characters, like, for lack of better words, like it's like your trainers in Pokemon, right? So I can understand if there's like waifu or titty tax on them, right? On the other end of the extreme, you've got like creatures and stuff that are curvy, but you really shouldn't. But there's really just kind of like animals and creatures, right? So it would be like, I don't know, like the low bunny or something from Pokemon, or like a Renamon or something. Those like the Renamon lines and shit from Digimon. It's like they're curvy animals, okay? So here's one extreme, and on the other extreme is like people, right? At what point does the 2D tax stop applying? Because it's just, at some point, it's just like too niche or too weird for it to no longer be considered human, right? So Dark Magician Girl probably sits here. You know, she's a monster card, but she's like a humanoid monster card, right? Lilithmon apparently sits on the other side of this titty tax line, right? So she is not titty tax exempt. She is titty taxable. But yeah, but where do you draw the line, right? So Lilithmon's titty taxable, but is Rosemon and Lilymon on the other side of that line? I think so. I think so. And when you get to like the Rosemon, Lilymon, so at some point between Lilithmon and like Lilymon and Rosemon, somewhere between those two is where people are like, all right, no, I'm not paying more for these boobs, right? But yeah, who could predict that? TD tax on Digimon. So in summary, Lilithmon regular one went up to about $25. I'm just gonna jump the gun a little bit and say there were only like 4 really big price increases in this thing, and yeah, those were the 2, right? So Lilithmon, like alternate arts, we bumped her up to like about $85, which still seemed lower than about the market price that we were seeing at like 95, 95 like price. So it's like, yeah, we were below that. But yeah, like we had her at 35, and so like, yeah, it was like 1.5 times like price increase, yeah. But yeah, so that was Lilithmon, War Greymon, War Greymon, Metal Garurumon, and Black War Greymon. We thought the hype for them would be much higher, from like collector circles and stuff and player circles, but it was not as high as we thought it was. So don't forget, these numbers are still lower than the Japanese converted numbers. So these did not, like, they all sold, but they sold at a slower price, so we think that the market was a little bit more hesitant for these guys, so we chopped them down by 15% for our next batch. Everything else seemed to be about more or less the same. Rosemon, a slight tweak of 5%, which is negligible as shit. It was like, what's that, like 40-cent difference? Like 30-cent difference? So yeah, it's negligible. Gallantmon, he increased by 20% just because, like, yeah, talking about the Gallantmon hype. Piedmon increased by 85%. Because like Piedmon is just like super core to like nearly all purple decks. So this seems about right. In fact, like, yeah, like the other prices are higher. Now to finish off, we'll talk about some of the promos, and the secret rares, right? Metal Greymons, we had them for like $15 each. Because we thought the secret rares, because that you would open like almost one in a box, that we just like bumped the numbers lower. But it seems like the demand for them were a lot higher. So it seems like the numbers were our numbers were quite low. Metal Greymons moved quick instantly. Alternate arts is like gone straight away. These ones we bumped up, and like a few people said that like these prices were like too low. Digimon, same thing, also moved very quickly. We bumped the regular by 45%. We didn't feel like bumping. We already thought that like $49 because for Digimon alternate art, because right now Digimon. So originally the Metal Greymon seemed to be like the lesser of the popular ones, and Digimon was kind of in the middle. But it seems like there hasn't been too much sort of increased demand for Digimon, which I guess I'm not sure. Like, I haven't like looked at the future meta, but I think, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but Yule Force, is it called Yule Force? It's like UL Force Digimon is apparently like really good in the next set, and like Digimon is a part of that deck. I'm not sure. But yeah, so like we like, I didn't feel right bumping it by like another huge jump. So like a 40% increase seems like it would be more reflective of the market price. Biosmon, we undershot on him, but not by a huge amount. 20% increase on the regular version, 35% increase on the alternate art. The price on the alternate art was like really quite high last week. As for the other promos, like very minor changes to the, I think this is promo version 0.0 or something. We originally had like $3, $2, $3, $2, because like these are just like participation like promo packs. You like go to the tournament, you participate, you get one. You get one, and you like, I think in the pack you get all 6 of them there. So it's like I couldn't justify pricing it up higher, because it's just like one promo. It's like a participation prize, And it's like, yeah, it's like, how much was this add up to? So a participation prize, I gave you $16, It's that's pretty much your tournament entry and a half. But they all sold out and people were demanding them. I put a very minor increase, like 0.2s, like 0.25. So yeah, it's very minor. Garurumon, we chopped that down by 15%. The Dash Pack, Agumon and Greymon. No, this is not. This is Box Topper Pack, yeah. Chopped them down by 20%. The Digimon Zero and the V-Tamer Taikamiya, bumped them up by 10%. Those were the most popular ones. This one was the biggest pricing mistake that we felt that we made overall. Was the Dash Pack Gabumons and the Dash Pack Agumons. We did not expect. So first of all, as we looked earlier in the video, this Agumon was not a particular particularly popular red rookie. And this Gabumon, even though he was a particularly popular blue rookie, like we had like priced him too highly when we were looking at the market data. So and yeah, they were not moving at that price. So yeah, we chopped them by 40%. So yeah, so we were wrong on that. Tamers, we were like we underpriced. Yeah, because we didn't like the market is kind of saturated. It's alternate art Tamers very quickly because you only get one a box. And so like when you think about it, you can only get one a box, right? And there's like 9 of them. It means you will only get to get a playset of them. You would need to open like 3 cases or something to get a playset of them, because it's like 9 times 4 is 30. 9 times 4 is 36. Yeah. So you would need 3 cases, right? So like these, so 36 booster boxes. That was more than half a store's allocation just to get a playset of them. So these actually moved out of the market really, really quickly. And so so we price adjusted some of them up. The most Matt is just like really popular. Matt was like the tamer for like both the 2 most popular colors. So Matt was blue Matt went up by 80%, purple Matt went up by 90%, but they're both around the $10 mark, AUD. Everything else is kind of just sitting in the middle, like lame Joe. Oh my god, Joe is like the Millhouse of. Oh my god, Joe is the Millhouse of like the Digimon world, right? Because he's the nerd. He even looks like Millhouse. And he gets screwed. But he's like worth shit all. He's still quite low. Everything else like moved up. The alternate arts, Metal Digimon, Popamon, and Machinemon, chopped them all down by a certain amount. Machinedramon, like he was like because he was being played in black, chopped down by 15%. These 2, they were also probably overtuned considering how prevalent dash packs were. Like 2 dash packs. Each dash pack had 2 cards. I can't remember. Was it 1 card or 2 cards? No, each dash pack had 1 card, right? But you got 2 dash packs per booster box. So there's a lot of them flooding the market. And these are all like techish sort of cards. Like people aren't running like 4 Puppetmon or like 4 Machinedramon. They're only running like 2 copies of them. So there's plenty enough in the market. So we just like we pushed the price of them down. Also, by the way, even though our cost on these cases increased by 30%, we didn't get any dash packs. The seller wouldn't sell us. The seller wouldn't include dash packs. We couldn't negotiate with him. It's like, we got our arm twisted in order to get these cards. I really want to emphasize that we're not trying to push like a hard thing. So there were a lot of price decrease, and like the price adjustments were pretty minor. It was just like 4 or 5 cards that increased by like a huge jump. But other than that, it's actually pretty low. And now let's just go to the final bit. Like I am aware that this video has gone on for quite long, so I hope you guys haven't been too bored about it. And but let's go to some eBay stuff, right? So we made our predictions. We looked at some of the numbers. And now we try to compare how good our predictions were compared to the market, right? All right. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I am not saying that my prices are right. We are doing the best that we can to try to be as reflective as we can. But at the end of the day, it's like you have your own opinion and you have your own adjustments. So like by no means I'm not saying that our prices are the prices. I'm just saying here's our reasoning for our prices. If you would like some more context, because we never intended to be the de facto price guide for this game. But here we are. So here's some of our reasoning, right? But now let's look at how decently we predict the market, right? Do note that our prices are in AUD, and we are looking at this in terms of eBay.com. As opposed to ebay.com.au, because the market's really small in Australia. So there weren't a lot of completed or sold transactions in .com.au. So we're looking at the .com, but these prices are in USD, right? And so currency conversion is 134 AUD to 100 USD. So the general math is that if you chop off If you chop off if you chop off about a quarter, that gives you about chop off about a quarter of the AUD, that gives you about how many USD? About more or less, right? So for example, our War Greymon here is 1845. You adjust to USD is somewhere along the lines of like you take about 450 off of it, right? So like so it should be about $13, right? So like 18.45 is about 1350, right? Okay, so it's about 1350 on our side. You always like try to look for completed sold. So this shows you like sort of what people are buying and selling it at, right? So $16, $9, $15. Yeah, so it's looking around that like somewhere between that $10-15 mark. So you know we're kind of on the mark there. You know, next card we just go down the list. Rusty Tyrannomon, we have it at we have it at 16.6 US AUD, which USD is about it's about $12. 10, 12, 10.50, 13. This guy paid $20, 20, 14. So yeah, it's like we're about right. So and like yeah, so just to be quite clear, all right, I'm checking these prices now today, right? But we put these prices up on Friday night, right? Friday night / Saturday morning. So yeah, so it's like our pricing predictions are actually like spot on with a lot of things, right? Black War Greymon. So yeah, like what do we have? Black War Greymon. So it's like BT2 War Greymon. We had him at would have been about 15-ish bucks USD. So it's about 15 here. It's 20 here. This was a 17 that got cut down, probably about 15 bucks. So yeah, it's somewhere along. So we're probably on the slightly lower end of we're probably on the slightly lower end around that $15 mark. But yeah, it's aboutish right. And yeah, Piedmon, we have him regular Piedmon at 24, which in USD is what, like you take off a quarter of that, so it's about 18. So we might still be underpriced in actuality on the Piedmons. So there's like 35 USD, 30 USD, 20 USD. Yeah, we're like, to be honest, like, so yeah, that's another one of those things, right? Like even like when you should be higher, it sometimes like in terms of the optics of it doesn't look great. Even though we could like, the market might say we should have bumped them up to like, let's say 30 USD, which would have been 40 AUD. It just doesn't look that good, right? So we go out of our way to take less money than the market just in order to try to better serve the community. So I do want to let that be known, right? Because like for example, right now we've got Vivid Voltage Elite Trainer boxes on our store for 70 AUD, when right now the market price is like 90 on them or something. And we still got them in store, and like yeah, and Champions Path ETBs Elite Trainer boxes, market prices on them were like $180. We sold them for like, was it 100 or 105? But basically, we sold them at MSRP because we don't feel right price gouging people, right? So our prices on the Piedmon is probably a little bit low. Gallantmon, our numbers might be a little bit high off this if I recall. So we have it at 27 AUD. US in USD is about 20-ish. No, a little bit more than that. 21, 22-ish. So yeah, it's like what? Here's a 15. Here's a probably this got chopped down to a 20, 25. Actually, we're not too bad. We're not too bad. It's not too bad. So yeah, we're all kind of in the right range. Millennium Mon, we had him at like what, $33 USD. So in AUD is what, like it's like 24 or something. 24 or something. Yeah, 24 or something. We're still low here, but yeah. This one probably got chopped down to like 24ish. This was a 30 here. It's going up recently. So if anything, like maybe like if you can get it for like 25 or something, it's probably a good deal. Yeah, no. There's a $16 here. Yeah. So like, yeah, our Millennium one's bit below the market. Lilithmon, okay, yeah. So here's the one worth looking at, right? So Lilithmon, we've got regular at 25. What is okay, so that's 25 AUD, right? So in USD that's whatever. Just to be very clear, all right. So 25, it's like 18 USD, right? 18 USD. So we got at 18 USD. It's like yeah, 20, 24, 25, yeah. So we're below market, even though. So like, yeah. So like, yeah. Don't get angry with me, Australians. You know, I didn't do this shit. Hey, I'm not simping for these boobs. You know, even though they're very nice boobs. Not gonna lie. Um, yeah. um, yeah. You know, so like, yeah. In actuality, our prices are still below like what is the completed sold market price, right? And yeah, like if we want to look at Liliform alt art, I think I opened it up or something. All right, just to save time. All right, so you basically just like, oh yeah, just put an art, right? Because if the only reason why someone will put art into the name is like obviously for alt art, right? So 60, 75, 75, 95. All right, so our price was like 85. So 85, it goes to like 66 USD or something, right? 63. All right. Yeah. So you know, we're the marketish. You know, 75s are above us, 60s are below us. This guy sold a 95, so we're about right? So it's like, yeah. Omnimon, I think Omnimon we are overtuned on. Omnimon, I think we might be a little bit overtuned on. Yeah, Omnimon, I think I have him at 111 or something. Yeah, 112. Which what is that, like 80ish something bucks? Yeah, 80ish or something bucks. Yeah. So we might have overtuned him a little bit. 70, 63, 90, 80. It's about-ish, right? Oh, yeah, so this is 80, 80. Yeah, it seems like we're about-ish, right? Yeah, I guess, like, yeah, some of these guys are getting good deals, right? Like, you know, this guy, you know, he was able to get it for 63, so I guess we're not too far off. Yeah, which is good. Metal Greymon, we had him at, yeah, you know, Metal Greymon, I think we might have, like, overboard. So 41 goes to 30 USD, right? So it's like 22, 35, 25, 25, 25. Okay, so maybe we're like 5 USD up above on the Metal Greymons. Beelzemon, alt art 75. So I think our alt art was like 130 or something. Alt art Beelzemon was 130. Regular is 77. So that means our regular is gonna just eyeball. It's like what our regular is like 50 something, and our alt art is like 100ish. Yeah, it's okay. It's about 50 and 100. Right? That's it. Okay, cool. So regulars is like 40, 60. Japanese 50ish. Like 45. Yeah, 50ish, 45. Okay, so like our like on the regular, it's about right. Maybe a little bit higher than usual. As for the alt art, yes, here's a 75. Here's a 75. 75. Okay, so maybe our alt arts are a little bit high. Here's 100. This probably got chopped down to about 85 or something. Okay, so like yeah, so this old art Beelzemon, I probably overtuned him a little bit. You know, we'll look at it in a week or so. Whether we want to sort of bring him down a little bit. Probably will bring him down a little bit. Even though I won't have any more in stock, and if we bring him down, I really want to let you guys know I'm doing it just to better accurately reflect the market, not because I'm trying to lower the market so I can buy it more, right? Yeah, little form. Yeah, we looked at that. All right, it's just a couple of random rares. Chimeramon, we bumped it up to like $8 AUD, which is like $6 USD. Yeah, so it's like we got 4s, 5s, 4s. We got some 750s. This probably end up being like around 5. Okay, so yeah, so we're about right with our $6-ish. Maybe a little bit on the higher end, but it's well within the market range. Trump Sword, we had it at what, like 5.45 AUD, which is like 450 USD. So it looks, you know, about right. You know, $4, 450. Okay, yeah. So overall, okay. So overall, you know, like, yeah, overall, that was the general summary, and we went for an hour, right? So I hope you guys, like, if you guys enjoyed it, then that's great. But I hope at the very least that this has been informative. And so yeah, so this shows you, you know, the inside of what's been happening, explain some of the stuff, and we also looked at some of the market data, right? So I did these calculations independently to what the eBay prices said, but you know, when we tested it and we looked at it and compared it to the eBay prices, it actually is a pretty accurate reflection. So, not to toot my own horn, it means I was pretty good with these sort of like market adjustments. Just saying. But yeah. Anyways, if you want to subscribe and like the channel, that's cool. I'm not really big on that. We basically just use this as a form of communication from the channel. So yeah, if you want to keep up to date with all our like more market stuff, let us know in the comments section down below. If you want us to like input more stuff, like I'm a bit of a people server, you know, like so yeah, if you guys want like any more particular stuff, you know, put it down in the comment section below. We'll try to do more of it. We do have quite a couple of unboxings and openings and stuff that we've recorded, but I haven't chucked up on the site yet. Chucked up on the YouTubes yet, because I've just been busy packing, really busy. So yeah, you know, let us know what you want or any sort of stuff. And yeah, and so that's it. Thank you for everyone who supports our store, and of course, you know, if you want to find out more information or you know, drop us a message at our Facebook page at Grand J Games, you know, or you can shoot us an email or whatever. I'm around a lot, but please don't like get angry if I don't respond to you when it's like hour 2 a.m. All right, we're a mom and pop store. All right, but anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Grand J out.